Good afternoon, friends. Important video coming from Kerala High Court. We are finding that in initial phase of GST implementation, being buyer, being purchasing dealer, we have paid the GST amount to the supplier, and supplier has not deposited the tax with government exchequer. To the condition prescribed under section 16 subsection 2 clause C, अगर सप्लायर ने टैक्स का पेमेंट नहीं किया तो बायर को, रिसिपिएंट को क्रेडिट नहीं मिलेगी. Defaulter is supplier. Even after collecting the tax, he has not deposited. But credit is being denied to the genuine and honest buyer, purchasing dealer. A recent Kerala High Court judgment on section 16 subsection 2 clause C, read with rule 36 subrule 4 of CGST Rules 2017. And the fact of the case is, there was difference between GSTR 2A and credit availed in 3B. Because of section 16 subsection 2 clause C, supplier has not deposited the tax. Assessment order was passed against the recipient along with interest and penalty. Even recovery proceedings got initiated against the buyer, purchasing dealer, for non-payment of taxes by the supplier. Here, supplier was the defaulter. Alongside, what happened? Petitioner had challenged that assessment order, recovery proceedings, and also challenged section 16 subsection 2 clause C and rule 36 subrule 4, violative of article 14, being discriminatory against the buyer. Very interesting one. And we have to really understand what is the fault of this buyer. इसने तो पेमेंट कर दिया सप्लायर को, सप्लायर ने जमा नहीं कराया. आप सप्लायर को नहीं पकड़ते, लेकिन आप कहते हैं बायर से यू रिवर्स क्रेडिट, वो भी along with interest, penalty. Recovery proceedings get initiated against the buyer, purchasing dealer. You must be recalling one judgment from Madras High Court in the case of D.Y. Bethel Enterprises. Same factual position. But therein, there was no challenge. Constitutional validity of section 16 subsection 2 clause C was not challenged. In that particular case, it was pleaded before Honorable Court जब दोनों को रजिस्ट्रेशन, सप्लायर और रिसिपिएंट को रजिस्ट्रेशन डिपार्टमेंट ने दिया. ये सीधे बायर के पास आते हैं डिपार्टमेंट, और बायर से बोलते हैं तुम क्रेडिट रिवर्स करो अलॉन्ग विथ इंटरेस्ट, पेनाल्टी. रिकवरी प्रोसीडिंग स्टार्ट कर देते हैं, but they don't initiate any action against the defaulting supplier, right? This plea was made before Honorable Court, Milord. We both, supplier and recipient, got registration from GST department. So GST department knows to both of us together. Second, GST department, knowing that who is defaulter, they are not initiating any action against the defaulting supplier, rather coming to the buyer and wanted buyer to reverse credit. How come possible? Third, initially when GST got introduced and when GSTR 2A was not available, even buyer was not aware of. Buyer को तो मालूम ही नहीं था कि सप्लायर पेमेंट कलेक्ट करने के बाद भी जमा नहीं करा रहा. So doctrine of impossibility. Lax non cogit ad impossibilia. You cannot compel a person to do something impossible. जब तक टू वे नहीं आया था, बायर को नहीं मालूम था. आप बायर की छोड़िए, इवन डिपार्टमेंट को नहीं मालूम था कि सप्लायर इवन कलेक्ट करने के बाद भी जमा, कौन सा ऐसा सप्लायर है जो टैक्स जमा नहीं करा रहा. फर्दर मैं आपसे ये कहूंगा, इवन आफ्टर जीएसटीआर 2A, कैन यू से विथ कॉन्फिडेंस that supplier is really depositing his tax? Yes, I know that sequential filing of GST return got introduced effective from 1st October 2022, and certain changes are being made in different provision of GST law, like Rule 59, Sub-Rule 6, 75, Subsection 12, explanation, Section 37, Section 39, sequential filing of GST return. But this will take some time, 6 months to a year, to see that supplier is tax compliant and thereby credit is flowing to the buyer, recipient. टाइम लगेगा. बट ये सारी पास पीरियड की बात हो रही है. पास पीरियड में ये सारे प्रॉब्लम थे, तो 2A नहीं था. 2A आया तब भी आप कॉन्क्रीटली ये नहीं कह सकते कि बाकी मेरा सप्लायर टैक्स कॉम्प्लायंट है. एग्जाम्पल, assume 10 lakh rupees is his liability, but he is only filing 1 for 5 lakh and 3B for 5 lakh. His status will come filed. What about balance 5 lakh rupees? So there are lot many points. So in case of D.Y. Bethel Enterprise Judge, it is being held by Honorable Madras High Court, unless department initiate action against the defaulting supplier, they can't demand reversal of ITC, input tax credit, for non-payment of taxes by the supplier. So department has to initiate action against the defaulting supplier, rightly so. But thereafter you must be knowing Patna High Court judgment, Astha Enterprises, and therein constitutional validity was challenged. Section 16, subsection 2, clause C. And that has gone against all the taxpayer. And Patna High Court has held it is constitutionally valid, and buyer will not get credit, they have to reverse the credit. Even though provision exists within the GST law that supplier is a defaulter and department can initiate action against the defaulting supplier, but this point cannot be argued if this is the condition to avail credit. So validity was held valid in that Patna High Court judgment, Astha Enterprises. Now, having said all this thing, where we are heading for, let me first conclude what is being held by Honorable Kerala High Court. In this case, they have said that the prescription of condition for availing credit is not discriminatory. It's not discriminatory. GST input tax credit is a concession or benefit given to the taxpayer. It becomes right for the taxpayer only when conditions are satisfied on the date of availment. Simple. जो कंडीशन प्रिस्क्राइब किए गए हैं ना, that is not violative of Article 14. No way. This GST input tax credit is concession or benefit. जब तक आप कंडीशन सेटिस्फाई नहीं करेंगे तब तक आपकी वेस्टेड राइट नहीं बनती. That is what the first point it is being held. Even it is being held that when we talk about that this provision, section 16 subsection 2 clause C, is having arbitrariness Honorable Kerala High Court has rejected this plea as well. And there are two judgments. Honorable Supreme Court judgment is being relied upon. Sairavano and ALD Automotive Private Limited. So these two judgments are being relied in this Kerala High Court judgment. And they have said it's not violative of Article 14. And there is nothing like, arbitrariness in prescribing these provision and condition for availing credit. Second point, Honorable Kerala High Court has said, since the tax invoice, which is the condition, you must be knowing that for availing credit, you need to satisfy 4 conditions. First, started with, as a recipient, you should have tax invoice. You must have received goods or services. Your supplier must have paid taxes, which is the point of contention in this judgment. And being recipient, you are regularly filing GST return under section 39, which is GSTR 3B. Fifth condition, that credit availed in 3B must be matched with GSTR 2B effective from 1st January 2022. Sixth condition, effective from 1st October 2022, that whatever credit you are availing through 2B, GSTR 2B, you must check that it is not restricted as per section 38. And 6 restrictions are being placed with substituted section 38 of CGST Act. So these are the conditions. So in this case, it is being held by Honorable Kerala High Court, since petitioner has not produced the tax invoice copy, thereby he is not entitled to avail credit. That is the point of contention given by Honorable Kerala High Court. And one more statement which is being held, that court should not, and they should restrain themselves in interfering in tax legislation unless they found such legislation it's grossly, manifestly unjust or glaring unconstitutional. So they have said that courts should not, and they must restrain themselves, because taxation law are on different footing. So unless they find there is a glaring unconstitutionality, then only they should deal with. Otherwise, no way. So this judgment has again gone against the taxpayer. Asta Enterprises by Patna High Court is against us. Now where we are heading for? अब क्या होगा ये समझना है. I'm giving you food for thought. Do we really require, buyer or recipient really require to reverse ITC for non-payment of taxes by the supplier, even after collecting the tax? I will give you some, glimpses. Detailed videos are available, which you can watch on my YouTube channel. Pre-GST era, there was dispute. Similar dispute, Honorable Supreme Court in the case of KK Industries Limited has held credit can't be denied for the buyer for non-payment of taxes by the supplier. Under VAT regime, maximum High Court judgment in our favor, including Arise India by Delhi High Court. SLP was filed against this judgment before Honorable Supreme Court, got dismissed. Nothing was discussed on merit, but it is being held by all the High Court that credit can't be denied for the buyer for non-payment of taxes by the supplier, except Bombay High Court judgment, Mahalakshmi Cotton case. Madras High Court judgment in our favor. Taxpayer. Department cannot demand reversal from the buyer, recipient, unless they take action against the defaulting supplier. But now back-to-back two judgments, Patna High Court, Asta Enterprises, and this Kerala High Court judgment. Detailed newsletter is there in description box against us. even constitutional validity is being held valid, and it is not violative of Article 14, which was pleaded by the petitioner, that it is discriminatory against the buyer, not being considered by Honorable Kerala High Court. But my submission to all of you, if you look at section 41 subsection 2, and it is prospective clause, effective from 1st October 2022, and as per this clause it is being stated, if there is default of payment of taxes by the supplier, then buyer need to reverse credit along with interest, and whenever supplier pays the tax, buyer can re-avail the credit. This is prospective clause. So first time ever this section got introduced, which is talking about reversal by the buyer. And prospective, quite clear, it is not applicable for the past period prior to 1st October 2022. You cannot demand reversal from the buyer. Because this reversal provision first time got introduced, prospective clause, then quite obvious, legally I can defend myself in the court of law. Sir, पास पीरियड के लिए आप मुझसे रिवर्सल नहीं मांग सकते. Come to rule 37A, notified from 26 December 2022. What is this rule 37A? Very clear. Let's say आपके पास 1st May supplier has raised invoice on 1st May 2022, 10 lakh, 18% IGST, Delhi to Maharashtra. You are buyer, recipient, paid the amount to the supplier. Supplier has not deposited. What rule 37A is saying, that as a buyer you can avail credit subject to your supplier must pay this liability by 30th September 23. If it is pertaining to financial year 22-23, because 1st May 2022 invoice. So supplier must pay the liability by 30th September 23. If supplier does not pay by 30th September through GSTR 3B, then only buyer need to reverse by 30th November 23 through GSTR 3B. So subsequently, if supplier pay this liability, as a buyer you can re-avail the credit. Now there are certain point which I want to draw here. 41 subsection 2, read with rule 37A, both are prospective in nature, then quite obvious I can plead before the court that for the past period, reversal by the buyer is not required. Department must take action against the defaulting supplier for collection, non-payment of this tax by the supplier. This is my first point. Second point, interest. 41 subsection 2 saying interest. When interest is leviable. Interest is leviable if you don't reverse by 30th November 23. Then only interest leviable. Subsequently, I can add further, of course, it would be wrong availed credit. But if it is not utilized, then quite obvious, section 50 subsection 3 clearly saying no interest applicable if a wrongly availed credit is there but not utilized. My second submission on interest. And third, re-availment. Let's say this defaulting supplier pay the liability on 1st April 2024 for this invoice of 1st May 2022. So credit pertaining to 22-23, you reverse the credit by 30th November 23. Your supplier paying this liability now on 1st April 2024. Can you re-avail the credit as a buyer pertaining to 22-23? and section 16 subsection 4 putting a condition time limit 30th November, last date. What happened? Can you avail? Yes, for re-availment there is no time limit. Time limit applicable only on first availment of credit. Once availed and reversed, subsequently on re-availment, section 16 subsection 4 is not applicable. So in this video I have tried my best to give a flavor that what is the way forward for section 16 subsection 2 clause C of CGST Act, where defaulter is supplier who has not deposited the tax even after collecting the tax. I can say in my humble opinion that prior to 1st October 2022, if this default is there, then suppliers need to be so-called, not the buyer, not the recipient. Of course, after 1st October 2022, read with Rule 37A, first time reversal provision got introduced. So we can say after 1st October 2022, department can say that yes, now reversal is required, but not for the past period. A detailed newsletter is there in the description box, which you can download and read for your ease of reference. Stay tuned. Thanks for watching. Thank you very much.